Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Renata Bernardi, the host of the Job Hunting Podcast. And in this podcast, I give you tips, advice, and interview experts to help you nail your next job and have the career you want. In this episode, we will focus on 7 habits you must create, not only to help you find your next job, but also for you to have a great career, great confidence, and great success. I really strongly believe that this is a great podcast for you to listen to, whatever time you are and phase you are in your career right now. Together with the episodes 12 and 13, this episode, this is 14, you're right. This episode is a companion to my 31 days of actions to reset your career. This is a project that I've created to help professionals make the most out of the month of January and take one day at a time in creating new habits and taking actions that will have a positive effect in your career advancement and job hunting prospects. This can be used throughout your career and throughout the year. It's not a January-only strategy. It's really an opportunity for you to press the reset button whenever you feel you're ready and incorporate these actions in your life, or at least give these actions a go. If you want to follow the second half of the project in this day-by-day format, follow me on my Instagram account, my Facebook page, or my company LinkedIn page. I will leave the links in the show notes for you, and you can then click on the link and see any of these platforms, whichever is easiest for you. So in the latest episode, number 13, the 6 powerful ways to set yourself up for career success in 2020, it was massive. This was the longest episode so far that I've done, and I'm proud to say I did it without a single edit. I mean, my podcast is not polished in any way. I don't want it to be. I want it to be a conversation, and I don't want it to look too fancy or polished, which is fine because it's easier for me to do it whenever I feel like, and I feel most inspired as well, and upload it promptly. I don't have to do a lot of editing. But it goes to show that, I'm not saying I'm, a wonderful podcast host. This podcast is only 2 months old, but it goes to show that it takes a baker's dozen, doesn't it, to get something to nail a new habit and to do something in a good way and feel good about it. And I'm feeling like I'm getting stronger at this podcast thing. And I think that this is a good example for job hunters out there to use when they're going out for interviews. I always say this, you have to give interviews a go. Even if the job that you've applied for and are being interviewed for is not your perfect job, you need to get that experience of being interviewed, and there's nothing like the real thing. It's okay to do mock-ups and practice on your own or with somebody you trust, but to be in that situation and the adaptation that you need to have with the cortisols and all the stress levels that are going through your body, it's really important. So just a little bit of a side note there from me. But before we go into those 7 habits, a reminder about this podcast's pledge to the recovery efforts in Australia. If you are listening from Australia and listening around about now, I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. I hope you're indoors. I'm in Melbourne and the pollution here is ridiculous. It rained all day and night yesterday, but still the pollution level is so severe I can't open my windows, and I'm not near the fires, and I've had no sort of horrible experience in any way, shape or form. But you probably can tell from my voice that I'm struggling with my throat. My eyes are very irritated as well, and it's all due to the pollution. But we have a pledge. I'm based in Australia, and we're experiencing unprecedented fire destruction here in my country. And in my previous episode, I told you my story about arriving in Australia during the fire season back in 2001 and how scary it was for me. This season, the horror is in how prolonged it has been, how out of control it has been, and how early the fire season started. It started back in September, which is uncommon in Australia. People have lost their homes, our bushland has burned, millions of animals have been lost, and at the time of the recording, we've lost 28 lives, which is really, really unfortunate, really sad. We are all doing our bit to help here and also overseas, and we have pledged to support the recovering efforts. So if you are keen to be engaged and support, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, write a review, and for each of those that are done during summer, I'll be donating for downloads of episodes. So really keen to get everybody that is listening involved. Let's get the ball rolling, and click on the links in the show notes to find where you can do the reviews on iTunes and ranking on iTunes, which really helps me and helps this podcast as well. Let's talk about the 7 must-do actions for job hunters so that you can start creating good habits for career success. Number 1, go for a 30-minute walk before or after work. You see, my goal is to get you reaching your career goals. So why am I verging into health and well-being? It's because actions, behaviors, and the choice we make are not isolated. They work alongside each other. The truth is, I'm not trying to get you anything but a new job or a career advancement opportunity. And still, I believe that going for 30-minute walks should be part of your strategy to reach that career goal. Why? First of all, it resets your mind. If you've been sitting all day, or will be sitting all day if you're doing this at the start of the day, you need a breather. You need to take time out. It gives you an opportunity to rest from work and from worries. While you're walking, listen to a fun podcast, listen to music, call a friend, or meditate. Just take time out from your concerns about your career and your job hunting pursuits. It also gives you an opportunity to review your plans and make new ones. If you're sitting down and you're in the thick of it, sometimes we need to take a step back, time out, and while you're walking, you might sort of get a better perspective on everything that you're doing. Listen to your sector or professional development podcast, for example, and think about your achievements for the day or what you plan to achieve in next day or so on. So this should be a special time for you, this walk. Use it well, okay? My situation at the moment is that I haven't been doing that because of the pollution, and I am very sensitive to pollution. I know this because I used to live in São Paulo in Brazil, and I remember feeling quite unwell at times because it's so polluted in São Paulo as well. So I haven't been going for walks outside, and even though I'm very healthy, I feel less productive, and I feel like I'm not doing my best. I'm not nearly at my best because of that lack of exercise, and mostly because of, I'm so used to going out for walks early in the day, and I haven't been able to do that for weeks now, and I feel that it's really severely impacting on my well-being. So there you go. That's a good example there for you. Number 2, post an article on LinkedIn aligned with your expertise. Now, if you're following the 31 days of actions to reset your career, back in day 7, I suggested that you should like 10 LinkedIn posts and comment on 2. That's also on the number 13 podcast, by the way. Remember also that on day 6, I suggested you should get Google Alerts for articles about your sector, career expertise, and for you to, continuously learn about your sector. And again, that's also available on the previous episode. So by now, if you're following those steps, you are listening to podcasts, which may also provide you sector-specific content, and you have compiled, amalgamated this great amount of information. You also have your LinkedIn profile done right. You have a great photo. These are all steps in the 31 days of action to reset your career. Well, I guess you can see how this is all coming together, right? So my intention is to provide step-by-step support, and I do this freely on my social media channels, on this podcast, and then I also take things a step further with my clients. What you can do now is that you are ready to start networking online and sharing some of that knowledge with your network. You have it all together. You are ready to start amplifying your reach. And the idea of the taking it step by step with the 31 Days project was to increase your confidence levels and your knowledge levels so that you can now reach out and start posting on LinkedIn, which I think is a very important career advancement strategy for you. So find a great article you have read recently about your sector, professional interest of yours, and share it on LinkedIn. Add your own words, a couple of sentences to explain why you're sharing this article and why it's great for others to read. Add some hashtags to make your post reach out to those who are interested in the topic of this article. LinkedIn is great at providing good hashtags. So when you click on hashtag and you start typing the word, let's say hashtag innovation, it will automatically give you the innovation hashtag and other related hashtags as well. You choose 2 or 3, that's all you need, and you can add those to your post. And once you do post, watch out for comments. The whole idea of you posting is for you to increase your reach and amplify your network. If someone makes a comment, you reply back. Don't leave the comment just hanging there. For every comment that you get, you should establish a connection and write a sentence or 2 or even more to interact with that person. They are interested in what you posted. They're interested in you, and you should connect with them. And look, if no one comments, you shouldn't feel bad. Establish a routine of posting every week, and you will learn how to establish better connections with people. You will get better at posting, and your network will understand the shift in your LinkedIn strategy and start engaging more over time with you. So don't be reluctant to start posting on LinkedIn. It is really a great way to get noticed by people who can directly hire you or can advocate for you. And just on a side note about this, my very first article on LinkedIn I wrote back in 2016, and it was an absolute success. I cannot believe how big it's been, and it's a complete fluke. And I'm not saying things I have shared and reposted. I'm saying an article that I wrote myself. And that article has reached, I think, 40,000 downloads and views so far. It's just crazy. It's really it's still very popular. I haven't written that many articles. I possibly have about 10 since that time. And the reason why I haven't written many articles recently is because something has changed in the LinkedIn algorithm, and my posts get hundreds of views, sometimes thousands of views, but my articles get very little. And I have already contacted LinkedIn and explained to them, and I've checked with a couple of other people, and it's happening to them as well. So at this point in time, I don't think until they fix the algorithm, and I'll let you know if you follow me for sure, until they're looking into it, but they change algorithms all the time, and they did something. Whereas articles from people like me who have, thousands of people connected, not hundreds of thousands of people connected, are not performing very well. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how it progresses. Number 3, connect with all your professional connections on LinkedIn. So we are in constant transition and having to rethink how we actually keep tabs on with technology and what is the simplest possible way to do things this way. I'm old enough to remember having the good old address book next to my phone, and then I had a Rolodex, which I felt so fancy sitting on my desk, and then I ended up with 3 Rolodexes, and in fact I still have loads and loads of business cards, and I don't know why. I need to sort of go through them and throw them away. But now we have contacts in our email providers, and if you have a great email provider like not Gmail, well, possibly Gmail, I have Outlook, those will automatically go into your contact list, and then it syncs to your phone, and it's all very, very easy. And if your phone is super smart, they will even capture what's missing out of your contacts, like phone numbers, and if the person rings, the phone recognizes it anyway. It's all very good. That's really important to have these days for your own sanity. So if you don't have this automation within your email account, make sure that you figure out how to do that. It's worth investing some of your time to get it working for you, right? Then you have the LinkedIn network. All the connections you have made on this platform, they are instrumental for your career. So if there are important connections that are sitting in your contact list, that are sitting in your business cards inside a drawer, which are not yet linked to your LinkedIn, use a weekend and send them a connection invitation. Let's get all of the ducks in a row and make sure that everything is connected and intersected. This is a good task for a boring day and when you don't want to do too much thinking, but it will certainly help you make sure that everybody that has been important in your career, people that are going to possibly help you find a future job, is connected to you on LinkedIn. People often ask me if they should have business cards, my clients. I usually do recommend my clients to have business cards. If you're going to a career fair or if you're going to events, it helps. It's fast. You can get your business card in front of somebody very quickly, and usually, look, if they don't want to take it home, they will take a photo. Many people get my card, take a photo with their CamCard app. If you don't have that app, I'll leave a link on the episode show notes, and they return it back to me, or they keep my card because my card is wonderful. It feels good. If you're going to invest in a card, you don't have to have many. Just get 50 or so good quality paper business cards and keep some in your wallet. And the other thing that LinkedIn has now, and you probably know this, you can scan people's LinkedIn profiles. There's a little box next to the search box on your LinkedIn app, or if you use your phone, and it will open up a scanner and scan somebody's LinkedIn profile, and you can connect them straight away. Those things are good. Sometimes it's hard because you want to talk to a person and look them in the eye, and all of a sudden you're both sort of looking down on your phone and trying to find this app. It kind of annoys me a little bit. I prefer to just pull out a card and give my card to the person. So I recommend having business cards. All right, number 4. Envision what your career might be like and write it down. Now, writing down your goals and dreams is really important. It helps clarify your dreams, what you want to achieve. It motivates you to take action. Doing this brain dump exercise will clear your head, clear all the noise and confusion of your thoughts. You have a tendency to overthink things, and I think this is a great task to do on a Sunday evening, for example. You will start your week with a huge weight off your back and a newfound inspiration to put your plans into action. And I think this is something that can be done regularly. And if you need any help developing these habits, contact me, write to me, write a message, and let's work it out together. Okay? Number 5, follow 3 people on LinkedIn with profiles and careers you admire. Now, this is a pet peeve of mine, and I want to address it here. There is a difference between following and connecting on LinkedIn. You should connect with people you know. You should follow people you don't know, but you want to see what they post and want their posts to show up on your feed. Okay, so this is how it works. Following is important because it allows you to have the LinkedIn feed of posts coming through to you, and these are top leaders in your profession, these are people that you look up to, but you don't know them, so you follow them. You can follow recruiters and headhunters without adding them as connections. So if you know me, if you've worked with me, I always advise people not to connect with headhunters and recruiters. It's too much of a red flag. It shows people that you're looking or you've looked before, and these are all the recruiters you've worked with. It's not good. Follow them, and it doesn't show as a connection on your LinkedIn public profile. Follow companies that you are interested in. Okay, so this is also a good use of the following mechanism on LinkedIn. Sometimes people follow when they should connect. This is really weird, but I always think it's strange when people meet me and they, get to know me, and the next thing I know, they're following me. I would much rather they connect with me. This is a great opportunity for you to connect with someone. If you've met them, you've been interviewed, if I'm doing a sort of a more small talk to a small group of people, like I did recently at one of the universities, there were possibly 20, 30 students in the room. I feel like I've connected with all of them personally. You don't need to follow me. You can connect with me. If you went to a conference or an event and saw somebody, a senior leader, speak, and it inspired you, you can write to them on LinkedIn, explain how much you enjoy their speech and presentation, and invite them to connect. That's perfectly fine. So I went to a conference with a colleague. She was a junior member of our team, and she was really interesting and very smart. And one of our Australian CEOs was speaking at this conference, and she immediately wrote to him on LinkedIn, sent a message and said how much she liked that speech. That speech is an excellent speech. I usually go back to it, and it was on the news. It was quite famous, and he connected with her. And I think that that's a good way for you to connect, not follow somebody that you admire, and you build a personal connection with them. But sometimes people connect when in fact they should follow. If you have never met a person, you should follow that person. Even if you share 100 connections with someone, you should follow that person. People sometimes assume that because they have many connections in common that it's okay to connect. I don't think so. I think it's okay for you to follow somebody. You can see that that person is within your circle of connections. That's fine. Follow them and see how they're going. If there's something specific that you want to do with that person, and have a coffee and feel that because you share so many connections that you might want to touch base with them, then that's a different story. Then write to them and say, look, I can see you're friends with X, Y, and Z. At this point in time, I am interested in understanding more this topic or this career, or connect with your organization that you work. Do you have time for a coffee? And that's a good way of doing it, but you have to do it properly. If you heard somebody speak at a conference like my friend did, but you haven't met them, you haven't sent them a message complimenting them, and you've built no connection at all with them, don't connect with them. You can follow them. I hope this is clear now, and if you have any questions, please send me a message, because this is what I call corporate etiquette, and LinkedIn etiquette is really important for you to always showcase your best when you're networking on LinkedIn. Number 6, download a list of action verbs and keep it easy access. Now, I have to admit that this is, of course, one of the actions from the 31 days of actions to reset your career. And I created a list of action verbs, and I forgot to attach to the post. I only realized it today when I'm recording this podcast. I'm like, oops, I forgot to do it. So I will make sure I add the link to the show notes, because there are lots of great lists out there, but I find that I've always had 2 or 3 lists for me, because they're not all comprehensive enough. So what I've done is I've just collated as many of the action verbs that I could find under different headings, and I think that my list is very comprehensive. If you have that list, you don't need any other. So I will add the link to this show notes, and also send to my subscribers, of course. So if you're subscribed to my newsletter, you will get it in the newsletter. Okay, so action verbs, what are they? They are verbs that clearly demonstrate an action. Opposite of action verbs are linking being verbs. So see the difference below. First sentence, I am a general manager. The verb being is used. Second sentence, I manage a team of 15 professional staff. That's an action verb. It's much more powerful if you add action verbs to your cover letters, resumes, and any communication that you're having with recruiters. Employers like to see action verbs in your resume. And I'd extend that, like I said, not only to resume, but to every communication that you do for your job hunting. In a limited amount of real estate, action verbs, they pack more information. They maximize the impact that you make. Note the difference of the 2 statements that I'm going to say now. Number 1, I worked in fundraising for 10 years. Number 2, I created a fundraising campaign that generated $350,000 in donations during 2019. That's way more interesting for a recruiter to read than the previous sentence. It has 2 action verbs, created, generated, and it shows what you've achieved. As you can see, action verbs are strong action words that help you define your experience, skills, and career accomplishments. If you don't use them to explain your career, you're not emphasizing your strengths well enough. Recruiters prefer action verbs, and their top action verbs that they prefer are achieved, improved, trained, mentored, managed, and created. But if you only use these verbs, you're going to be missing out. So download my list, because it has several, and it has them organized not alphabetically. They're organized by topic. So if you're going to describe that you've managed a project, or if you're going to describe that you're good at sales, there's a list of action verbs under each of those. So what you need to do is to keep that list of action verbs always close to you and easy to access. Go through your resume and replace the boring verbs with action verbs. Be mindful of future communication and continue to strive and use action verbs whenever possible. Number 5, last one. Read a career development article or blog. There is so much noise these days, so much distraction. It's easy to spend time with things that add nothing to our lives' well-being and knowledge. It's not so much that we spend too much time on our phones. It's that we do it and then we can't even remember what we were looking at. So have the right triggers in place to help you use that time well. Find great podcasts to listen that are easy for you to just, with a few taps, you can access them. Download good apps to have on your phone, like meditation apps or news apps. And access those news and articles that add value to your life. Every time you need a break from whatever you're doing, you're going to reach out to your phone. You might as well use it properly. You can even learn a few foreign words, a new recipe, update your knowledge on your favorite topic while you're driving or walking or cooking. I think I'm a big fan of mobile phones. I'm not one of those that thinks, it's destroying my life. And I think it's because I have so many good uses for it. And I think we need to be mindful of that. So reading career-related articles is a must for professionals going through career transitions, who are job searching at the moment and thinking and strategizing about their next steps. Now, I am sometimes horrified with articles that I read that I think, oh, wow, this is terrible advice. But even then, I think it's better for us to read, even if we have a critical view about it, but read these articles, because more often than not, you will have great ideas when you're reading them. It will inspire you. It will give you new strategies and actions to use. But read them with a critical eye. Because I'm so concerned about what I find sometimes on the internet, I have created a newsletter that I send out weekly to my subscribers with this podcast, the new episode every week, plus a list of articles that I've curated, I've read, I give my stamp of approval, and I think they will really add value to somebody who is aspirational for their careers, and I send them out with the newsletter. So that's a good way of making sure that you're not spending too much time browsing the web looking for things. So if you're interested, you will find a subscribe button for my newsletter on the episode show notes as well. All right, so that's it for now. I hope that you've enjoyed these 7 actions to create great habits for your career, and I hope that you give it a 5-star review on iTunes if you can, and follow the newsletter, and I hope to talk to you again next week. Until then, bye for now.